Rishut, the Maradatara, the Rabbi's Meirov. I want to thank very much Rabbi Yaniv Meirov for inviting me to come here. It's a big chizuk for me to come here and to see on a Sunday night. There are many, many things that we can do. We heard from Rav Shiur Shalita, the big Yitzrei Hara that there are, the tremendous amount of entertainment that's at everybody's fingertips. And we have precious Yidden who come together for chizuk with Chazaq. And it's a big chizuk for me to see this. So what we heard was that if we are from Rav Shiur, if we recognize the sweetness of the Torah, so we'll realize that all the tumah in the world can be dissolved in this sweetness. And we can continue to stand up for what's right. When we have a world that has come to a point of the Chatimah of the Mabul. The Mabul began with Geneva. What kind of a Geneva? One of the last Psukim in Bereshit. Vayiru b'neihu elikim, the sons of judges who were not afraid of punishment. Their fathers were judges. They saw es banota Adam. They saw the girls in the world. They saw that they could have fun, things were good. They took anybody else's wife, whatever they wanted. That's how it began. But the Midrash says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not seal the decree of the Mabul until they made a legal contract for two men. When they did that, Hashem said, no more chances. If a person sins and he knows it's a sin, it's a sin. That's one level. He'll do tshuva. But if a society could say a sin is legal, it is no more sin, it is okay, something's very wrong. And the Chatimah of the Mabul came for that. So I'd like to move from the point that we came to with Rav Shiur and explain a little bit more about this sweetness of the Torah. When I was young, I went to Yeshiva Torah Vadat. We studied in the secular studies history, and we met an explorer. His name was Ponce de Leon. Many of you probably remember or heard of him. He was searching the world for the fountain of youth. He believed somewhere in this world there is a water, that if a person immerses himself in this water, he comes out young. An 80-year-old person, a 90-year-old person, he believed there was a fountain of youth. He never found it. But as I watched my parents, Aleichem HaShalom, and my grandmother, Aleichem HaShalom, my mother's mother, I thought to myself, when I was 15 years old, I have seen the fountain of youth. What is the beauty of youth? Why do we all appreciate the young and enjoy the young? Because the young are always changing. They're always improving. There's excitement in watching that. The newborn baby, when the baby begins to focus with their eyes and they start to smile because they recognize people around them and they begin to smile, it's exciting. There's an improvement. There's change. Then the baby starts to crawl and then to walk and then to talk and then to learn, can go to school, a bar mitzvah, a bat mitzvah, changing and improving. The young people, marriage, then they have children, Bezrat Hashem. More changes, and it's exciting. What happens then? Do they stop improving? Do they stop changing? Then they're getting old. I was born post-World War II. My parents came here as teenagers during the war. My mother, Aleichem HaShalom, had to go to public school. There was only one Beit Yaakov when she, as a teenager, came to America. And she had learned too much in Europe. There was no class for her in the Beit Yaakov. So they couldn't take her in. She went to public school. So when my parents married, and we were born into this world, Baruch Hashem, my parents had become more Americanized. So we went to the movies, to the theater, to the beach. We didn't see tzniut the way we find in today's yeshivot and the Bet Yaakovs, but our parents sent us to good yeshivot. And we came home. And I remember when I was a 7-year-old child, and my older sister was 9, and my sister said to my mother, you know, I see the mommies in the Bet Yaakov, they wear a hat, they cover their hair. That night, my mother had a hat. Change. When I was 9 years old, I came home from Yeshiva. My Rebbe had said, Chalav Yisrael was a step above Chalav Stam. The next day, everything, Chalav Yisrael. Change, overnight. When I was 10 years old, my father, Alav HaShalom, came home from a Shiur from the Klosenberger Rav, Zichrono Livracha. And he announced to the family, and all of us children, he announced this to us while we were sitting on the floor in front of the television. He had heard in that Shiur, the Rav said, this box, this television, will destroy the American culture, not the Jewish culture. He said the entire America will be brought down by this box. So my father announced, this box must go. It must go. And he wouldn't give it away to a Jew, because Mahdi, he wouldn't cause somebody else to do what he was told tonight, that Shiur was a sin. He went next door to an apartment house. He brought in 2 goyim, and he pointed to the piece of furniture in the living room. He said, if you can carry that, it's yours. And my grandmother, Allah Shalom, she said, what are you doing? We have no linen closet in this house. It's a very small apartment. Keep the piece of furniture. Let them have what's inside the furniture. Let them take out the television. But keep it. He said, no. The Rav said it has to go tonight. They'll take it out. I didn't understand what that was, because like my brother says when he tells the story over, it was a very sad night in our house. We lost our best friend. But of course it picked up our lives dramatically. We changed as people because of it. But it was a hard night. But that still didn't teach me the fountain of youth. When I was 15 years old, and my younger brother became bar mitzvah, so my mother graduated from wearing a hat, and she bought herself a peyah. She bought herself a wig. And her mother, who spent much time in our home, who was 70 at the time, that my mother was 35, she was 70, she said, you know, that's a good idea. I too will buy myself a peyah. And that struck me. Ponce de Leon did not know what the fountain of youth was. If a 70-year-old woman can still improve, can still change because her daughter is changing, that's the fountain of youth. This 70-year-old woman is young. There are some 20-year-olds who are old and aging because they're not changing. They're not developing. They're not still improving. The fountain of youth is the Torah that gives us the ability to always grow. When I was 17 years old, my friends and I would go at least once or twice a week to a nursing home near our yeshiva, Palm Gardens Nursing Home, not far from Torah Vadat. And one of my experiences was, there was once a man there, he was in his early 60s, but Rahman al-Itzlan, he was paralyzed from the neck down. His head he was able to move, but that's all. So he had to be in the nursing home. And his wife sat next to him. Whenever we came, she was there, right by next to his bed. We came in the mornings because he wanted to put on tefillin. He wanted to daven shacharit. So we would take his tefillin. He made the brachot. He was able to speak very clearly. And we put the tefillin on for him. And his wife sat and cried. Because it's much harder to watch somebody suffer than to suffer. She was seeing her husband. She felt he was suffering. But he would turn to her when he could talk after the sharosh was on. And he would say to her, that's when I realized he was a real American. He looked like a European Jew. He had a big white beard and peyot. I didn't realize until he said this the first morning that he's certainly born in America. He says to her, what are you crying about? This is great. I'm davening. I'm putting on tefillin. This is wonderful. He was like a young person, paralyzed, in bed, but excited about life. The fountain of youth. When a person has Torah, no matter what age, they don't change. There was a man in my neighborhood in Borough Park, Rav Nissen Pilchik, Alav HaShalom. I lived a few doors away from him. Rachmana litzlan, when he was 72 years old, his wife passed away. So, after the Shiva, he said, look, now I am alone. What should a man do if he is alone? He's like a bachur. I'll go back to Yeshiva. So he went to the Mesivta of Stalin in Borough Park and signed up for the 10th grade class. Gemara, Rashi, Tosfot, some Mefarashim. He joined the 10th grade class. At that point in time, I hadn't yet learned Hilchot Lashon Hara. And I did not know that you're not supposed to ask a Rebbe how his student is, because you might hear something you shouldn't hear. I didn't know the halacha yet. Because unless it's your child, and you have to know about them. So I went over to the Rebbe of the 10th grade in Stalin. I would davened with him in shul. And I said, well, how is your new student? You know, his 72-year-old student in a class with 15-year-olds. He said, he is great. He learns very well. But it's hard on the students in the class. Because every day after the Shiur, I would send them down to the dining room for lunch. But Reb Nissen, he blocks the door. He says, you're going to go down to lunch after a Shiur like this without dancing? We have to dance first after a Shiur like this. And he would make the boys dance for the Torah, and then they went down to lunch. When he was 92 years old, 20 years later, and he was bedridden, and his grandchildren and great-grandchildren, they took turns sitting by his bed. They wanted that privilege. So even then, he couldn't get out of bed, but he was excited. One of his grandsons is a friend of mine. He said, Zaidi lay there in bed, and he said, isn't it great to have the Torah? You could lay in bed and still do 6 mitzvahs continuously. The mitzvahs that are in the heart and in the mind. Emunah in Hashem. Not believing in Avodah Zarah. 6 mitzvahs. He was young. Ponce de Leon had no idea. He wasted his life looking for a pool. But we have it. The Torah is called Mayim. That's what it's called. And my Rebbe, Rav Moshe Wolfson, Shlita, just last night, by Suda Shlishit, he shared with us a Zohar, which he really has shared with us in the past. The Zohar translates 2 psukim that we say every week by Kabbalat Shabbat, right before on the Bakoach, before Lachadodi. We speak about the Umot Olam by the day of Kabbalat Torah. They realized that the changes in nature, the lightning, the thunder, the smoke, it was exactly what they heard, what they had a tradition from their ancestors, happened by the Mabul. And they were afraid the flood is coming back. And they ran to Bilam, the Navi. And they said, as we say in Tehillim, I think it's Mem Dalet, we say it at right before Anabakoach, Hashem la Mabul Yashav. Right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu has returned to the Mabul. He's bringing the Mabul again. We were told by our ancestors for the past 10 generations that this is what happened to the world before the Mabul. We thought Hashem promised no more Mabul, it'll never happen again. So Bilam answered them, no, this time it's not a Mabul. Hashem ozla amoyitain. What did he mean by that? So the Zohar HaKadosh tells us, Hashem Yochai tells us, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to bring the Torah to the 10th generation. 10 is the highest level of Kedusha. There are 10 Sfirot, there are 10 Midot. We are perfecting the 7 Midot that we can perfect. From Chesed, and now we're in the week of Malchut. But we don't even count above that. We don't count the 50th day, even though it says in the Torah. We count Chamishim Yom. But Chamishim is above Olam Hazeh. Chamishim is Yemot HaMashiach. And we don't have a ability to touch that. So we have the Midot from Chesed through Malchut. But Chachma, Binah, and Da'at, which are Torah, Kedusha, even though we can learn the Torah, but there's such high levels that we don't give weeks to that. That's Shvuot itself. That's above Olam Hazeh. So in the 10th door, the 10th generation, the door of Noach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought down the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu in Noach. That's why the Gemara says, Moshe min HaTorah minayin. Where do we see a remez to Moshe Rabbeinu in the Torah? In Parshat Noach, the Gemara answers, it says, B'shagam hu basar, before the Mabul came. The man is just flesh, and they gave into their materialistic drives and their wants, as we described what happened in the Mabul. They legalized sinful living. They gave in. B'shagam gematria Moshe, says the Gemara. But Moshe Rabbeinu was all over the Torah. What kind of an answer is that? Moshe min HaTorah minayin. We see Moshe Rabbeinu all over the Torah. It meant, besides we see Moshe Rabbeinu besides his life in the Torah, by Noach. So the Torah was supposed to come down to that generation. And it had to come down to that generation. But it couldn't come down to people who were tumah, who were tameh. So it came down as physical water. As much spiritual water as the Torah has came. But it came physically. That was a mabul. So they were right, the Goyim. It was exactly the same experience as the mabul. And they were afraid of it. And that's exactly what happened. But Bilam explained to them, this time, it's the same amount of water. But it's Kedusha. It's Mayim Shel Torah. Hashem Oz La'amo Yitein. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was giving strength to his nation who were willing to take it, who wanted it, who said, Na'aseh v'nishma. We trust you, Hashem. We don't have to know what it says in the Torah. We'll do everything it says. Whatever you will tell us, we will do. So Hashem Yivarech et Amo v'Shalom. That gives Klal Yisrael the ability that we have shalom. We should have, and I think all of us, all B'nai Torah, have shalom with all the rest of Klal Yisrael. We said Tehillim last week for Achenu Kol Beit Yisrael, that we should be able to keep the Torah here and in Eretz Yisrael, that even if some people in the government of Eretz Yisrael don't understand the Torah and try to uproot the Torah, the Tshuva movement, it shouldn't work. We should be able to continue serving Hashem. So a Talmid asked me after the Tehillim, are we praying that bad things should happen to our brothers who are against us? I said, Chas v'shalom. That's not what the prayer is about. They should do tshuva. Umachniya zedim, we say about our brothers. Hashem should humble the sinners and bring them back, and they should do tshuva. I once had this discussion with an Israeli soldier by the Mount of Machpelah. He didn't understand what I was doing. I was the only Kohen on that tour. I was alone outside the Mount of Machpelah. And they gave us an hour to say Tehillim. So he was watching me. Finally he says, "Ata yochol lahafsik?" I said, "Betach." And you have Tehillim, yocholim lahafsik? So I said, "Ma ata rotzeh?" So he asked me, "Ata ma'ameh ma she'ata oseh?" I said, "Ma ani oseh?" Like, what do I have to believe? What am I doing? He said, "Ata ma'amin shepo nikbar ha'imahot v'havot?" I said, "I don't know. I never checked it out. But I know one thing. This is Hebron. And for sure, in this city, the Avot and the Imahot are buried." And I said, we don't daven to them. We never daven to a person. When we stand by a kever, and we are mitpalel, it's to Hashem. But we want express mail. I'm a simple person, I explained to him. K'shani mitpalel, I'm not sure my tefillah goes right away into Shemayim. There are so many barriers blocking the Aveirot that I did. There are barriers. Shabbat, or with the tzibur, everything goes right up. With the 10 people, with the tzibur, or Shabbat. But a weekday, I'm alone, so I daven by a kever of a tzaddik, by a kever of a parent. They love me. And they'll take the tefillah, express mail, overnight, maybe faster. That's all it is, but we daven to Hashem. So we got into a whole conversation about believing in tefillah, believing in Torah. He hates being in Eretz Yisrael. He told me he hates being in the army. And I told him it's only because he doesn't know who he is. If he'd know he's Yehudi, he would be so happy to be in Eretz Yisrael. We're back and forth. Finally, he gets very upset. He says, "Ma ata rotzeh mimeni? Noladati shalosh shanim achar Milchemet Yom Kippur." I was born 3 years after the Milchemet Yom Kippur in a Chiloni kibbutz in the Golan. He says, "V'limadati, they taught me, l'sno otcha v'yet toratecha." I was taught to hate you and your Torah. So what do you want from me? So I said, "En yirotzeh shum davar, ani ohev otcha," I told him. I understand you hate me. I have no problem. You're a 3rd generation sonei. I have no problem. I understand it. But ani ohev otcha. We love you. And I want one thing, I told him. For your sake, not for my sake. For your sake. So I'll go to the kotel to be mitpalel. When you're in front of the kotel, turn around and look up. You'll see a sign, Eish HaTorah. Go up the steps to that bit midrash. Bang on the bimah. And announce to the people, they're nice people, they won't throw you out. You bang on the bimah, you announce, Ani Yehudi, ve'ein ani yodei amazeh Yehudi. And if you let them teach you who you are, you will love Eretz Yisrael. You will love being a soldier. You'll appreciate what you're doing. That's all. I said, but I have no problem. We love each other. Hashem yivarech et amo v'shalom. The Torah gives a person inner peace. We're not afraid. We have no problem with everybody else. If a person knows he's living right, so he has inner peace. He has no problem. So the Torah is the opposite of the Mabul. The Mabul were damaging waters, destroying the world. The Torah is the Mikvat Tahara. We just went through enjoyed Lag BaOmer, where we spoke about the Rebbe of Shimon Bar Yochai. One of the nigunim that we sing on that day of the anniversary of receiving the Zohar, when Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was niftar, we sing Amar Rabbi Akiva, the last Mishnah in Yuma, the last Mishnah. Ashreichem Yisrael. Why? Lifnei mi atem betarin, u'mi betarin eschem avichem shebashamayim. Ma hamikva metaheret atmeim, af HaKadosh Baruch Hu metaheret et Yisrael. How is HaKadosh Baruch Hu metaheret Yisrael? How do we tovel in HaKadosh Baruch Hu? By learning Torah. Torah is the word of Hashem. We're all over the Shas. When it quotes a pasuk, it says, Rachmana Amar. The compassionate one says, Torah is the word of Hashem. If we want to tovel in the mikvah of Hashem, we learn Torah. So what the Mabul was in damage, the Torah is in building. It's the builder. That's part of the sweetness of it. It gives us inner peace. It keeps us young. No matter how old we are, we're always improving. We can always change. There's never an end. We can't learn enough. A person could live 500 years. He wouldn't finish the whole Torah. He wouldn't finish all the Chidushim. I'd like to share with you a midrash. You could look it up. It's on last week's parasha. The parasha that always ushers in the Yom Tov of Shavuot. It's the second Yalkut Shimoni in Bamidbar, and I heard this more than 35 years ago from Rabbi Yehuda Halevi Turnauer, Zichrono Livracha. He was the Rav of the Shomer Shabbat Shul in Borough Park. He was niftar about a year ago. Now his son, shall live and be well, he took over the shul, but I heard it from the father. The story goes as follows. We discussed already how the Umot Olam came to Bilam, to their Navi, and they were so, what's going on? Is there a Mabul? He said, no Mabul. Hashem Oz La'amo Yiteh. So what happened after that? Says the Midrash. Nitkanu Umot Olam Bahin. So the nations were jealous of us when they saw this. And they said to Bilam, what's going on? How come HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw it fit to be Mekarev Klal Yisrael, more than the nations, more than us? He was Mekarev them. So what was the answer? HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered. It's a Midrash Pliyah. The Midrash is very brief. It says, Satan Pihin, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered. He closed their mouths. Amar Lahen, he told them through the Navi, bring me your ancestry. Show me where you come from. Shne'emar, Havula Hashem mishpachot amim, kashem shebanai meviyin. Bring me your ancestry like my children bring in Bamidbar. Vayityaldu al mishpachotam. And they were quiet. Said Rav Turnauer, I don't understand two things in this medrash. One is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is makarev us more than the Umot Olam. If you love somebody, don't you go to them first? If you have your wife made a delicious cake and gave you a few pieces of it, and you want to show how wonderful, what a baker your wife is, you go to your best friend first. Want to taste this cake? It's wonderful, isn't it? I'm on a diet. Then you go to the next best friend. But first you go to your best friend. HaKadosh Baruch Hu went to all the Umot Olam first. Said, do you want the Torah? Makativ. Katuv lo tignov. Lo tignov. I live like this. I can't take it. Sorry, go try somebody else. Lo tirtzach. Esav says lo tirtzach. I can't live without ritzicha. Not possible. Ishmael. Lo tinaf. You have to be moral. Morality? I can't have morality. Go to somebody else. Klal Yisrael. Na'aseh v'nishma. Whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. That's called kiruv. Hashem comes to us last. Where's the kiruv? Second question. HaKadosh Baruch Hu closed their mouths by asking for yichus. HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares about yichus. Yichus is very good to have. Grandparents and Shamayim could daven for us. You wonder sometimes, how come this person, because there's someone davening in Shamayim. But as far as we are concerned, the Dubna Magid has a mashal, an unbelievable mashal about yichus. He says there was a king who had a guard dog, very expensive dog to keep alive, a big dog that ate expensive meats. And dogs don't live so long. The king outlived a few guard dogs. This dog became old, wasn't effective. They had to buy a new dog for him, and they told the king, it's not fair to the treasury to have to support a dog that doesn't protect you anymore. We have to put the dog to sleep. No, you can't do that to my devoted dog. I'll take care of the dog. So the king went to a room, says the Dubna Magid, where he kept relics from his hunting expeditions on the wall. They take the skins and they dry them. We wouldn't do it, Hachaim, but they do it, and they save the skins. So he took a wolf skin off the wall, threw it on top of the dog. Not enough. Took a bear skin on top of the wolf skin. Still not. Then took a lion skin on top of the other two skins. He says to the dog, now nobody's going to start up with you. Everyone's going to be afraid of you. You'll be okay till the day you die. You'll be safe in the woods. You'll get food to eat. No one's going to start up with you. He took the dog and said goodbye, sent it into the forest. Says the Dibna Magid, all the animals ran away from this new animal. They were frightened. So many teeth and so many feet and so many... What's this animal? They ran to their king, the Aryeh, the lion. They said, we need your help. There's a ferocious animal. Never seen anything like it. The lion says, don't worry. I'll take care of you. Follow me. And he goes ahead of them and he sees this animal. He stays and keeps his distance. And he roars from a distance. What are you? And the dog barks back. My father was a wolf. So the lion comes a little bit closer. What are you? My grandfather was a bear. Lion comes a little bit closer. What are you? My great-grandfather was a lion. So the lion sees already what he's dealing with. So he goes face to face and roars, what are you? I'm a dog. So the Magid, we have to be something. Yichus is very nice and Shemayim to daven for us, but by Hashem, we have to make ourselves something. HaKadosh Baruch Hu closed their mouths by saying, bring your Yichus. By HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's not what counts. What counts is who are we? Not who our father was, who our Zayda was. It's nice to have Baruch Hashem, good Yichus, but that's not what it's about. Life is about us. Are we that lion? Are we that bear? Who are we? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu closed their mouths, so he said such a beautiful hesber. So imagine you come to school on the first day. Imagine that everyone's sitting here, that you're an elementary school student, going from 7th to 8th grade. Everybody has a card in their hand. They got in the mail what class they're going to, but there's orientation. Everybody sits together in the beginning. Then you're told, take your card and go to your classroom. And the Menahel gets up, says, Rav Mordechai, and he says, okay, we have rules in this school. That's how he starts out his drush. There's a dress code. You don't dress right, you're out. There's a speech code. You don't speak in a fine way, you're out. Food. What kind of food you can bring to Yeshiva? And after he finishes all the rules, now take your card and go to your class. So people will feel, what kind of school is this? There's not a school. There's a prison. I don't want to be here. I'm not coming back tomorrow. But as if the Menahel gets up with a smile and he says, Bruchim Aboyim or Bruchais Aboyis, welcome. Hope you had a great summer. Hope you got your koiches back. We have a wonderful year prepared for you. We have Shabbatons and we have contests. And all kinds of wonderful things are going to go on. And it speaks about it, and there are also rules. You have to keep certain regulations. Oh, this we could hear. The Ummot Olam had an unbelievable Tana. They said, when we asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what does it say in the Torah? HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, you lo tinaf, lo tignov, lo titzach. We found out that by Kabbalat Torah, the first thing HaKadosh Baruch Hu said was, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I love you. If Hashem would have said that to us, when we said Makativ Ba, Hashem would have said Anochi Hashem Elokecha, we'd also say yes. We would also say yes. Why did Hashem say lo, 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 lo? Rules. So Hashem told us also Hashem Elokecha. He said, that's a good Tana. That's Pshat in the Midrash. So Hashem responded, not your Yichus, who is your father, what did he do? How did he raise you? If I cannot tell you, lo tignov, how often do you want to steal? When you're very hungry? How often? Not every minute of every day, not every day of the week. If I can't tell you lo titzach, if I cannot tell you lo tinav, how could I possibly say Anochi Hashem Elokecha? That is the hardest of all the mitzvot. It's 24 hours a day, every second to remember you are a prince, you are a princess. How do I look? How am I behaving? How am I driving? Am I too aggressive? Chilul Hashem. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. One of my children, when they were 7 years old, I was coming back from a doctor's appointment on a short Erev Shabbat, 4:11, Adlakat Nerot. And we had to go back to Borough Park from Manhattan. I was going the longest way I thought would be the shortest way, around Long Island, rather than through Manhattan. So by the Throgs Neck Bridge, before Easy Pass, you only had two choices. Those who are close to my age remember. You only had either exact change, or you waited in line for change. No Easy Pass. So I didn't have change. Even though it was a short Erev Shabbat, I had to stay in line waiting for my chance to get the change, to go through the toll. My little son realized, hey, a whole bunch of cars are going in the exact change lane, but they don't have change either. When they get to the front, they go into our lane. They just save themselves time. He said to me, why can't you do that? Look what they're doing. I said, are you angry at them? Does it bother you? He said, yes. I said, we are Yidden. We cannot anger people. Chilul Hashem. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. We have to be clean and neat when we walk in the street. How do we speak? Chas v'shalom. I had many times it happened to me over the years that I'm driving. Someone hit my car, either destroyed it or at least damaged it. Can we get out and scream like a maniac? No. Chilul Hashem. We have to get out and be civil, even if we're upset, even if we lost the car or whatever else. Baruch Hashem, we didn't lose our life. But I've seen people get out and scream like Meshugaim. Does that take the dent out of the car? Does it make the car beautiful again if we scream? I never saw it happen. What does it do? It's not for a Ben Yisrael, a Bat Yisrael. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. That was the answer. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, how could I tell you a mitzvah that's every second of the day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, if you can't do a simple thing like Lo Tignov? How can I do Anochi Hashem Elokecha? And I think that's Pshat Midoraita. Derech Eretz Kadma LeTorah. That Anochi Hashem Elokecha was the first of the Aseret HaDibrot, and that's Derech Eretz. It's not just Emunah. Of course it's Emunah, but a part of Emunah is Ahava. It's an inborn love for Hashem, for Torah, for Bnei Yisrael. That's what it really is. You look at preschool children. They're enthusiastic about everything they learn in Torah, about every mitzvah, because we're born with that Ahava. Just the older we get, we take in all kinds of poisons. So it dulls the emunah and the ahava, all the different poisons of the world outside. But preschool children, they're not poisoned yet. They're excited. I remember one of my own children, when he was just under 3, was sitting at the supper table together. I wanted the children to appreciate that Mommy made supper. They should always say thank you and say it's delicious. So I tried different ways. So that night, I said to the children, who's the best cook in the world? And this little fella who's just in play group, he yells out, Hashem! I looked at him, Hashem? The best cook in the world? He said, Hashem is the best everything. I said, you're right. Who's the second best cook in the world? That's right. But why do you say Hashem? Because we're born with that. We're born with Ahavat Hashem, Ahavat Torah, Ahavat Tefillah. If we're bored by Tefillah, it's something wrong. Since we're little children, how they happen. Little children don't have a problem with Tefillah. They don't have a problem, unless they see a bad example in Beit HaKnesset. But if they don't, we're born with such an Ahavah. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to the Moto Olam, who raised you? How can I tell you Anochi Hashem Elokecha? Anochi Hashem Elokecha is such an important relationship, but it's mamish a relationship of love. And I'll take one more avenue of this. I'm watching the clock to be finished, Be'ezrat Hashem, hopefully by 10. But listen to these psukim, and we see how powerful this relationship is. What does it really mean if we translate it? Anochi Hashem Elokecha. So very often in the Tivot Shalom, he says it's two parts. Anochi Hashem, I am God. That's for the whole world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the God of everyone. The Umot Olam, if they keep their Sheva Mitzvot, they have a Gan Eden. They also have to believe in Hashem. One of the Sheva Mitzvot is not to be an idol worshiper. They have to be moral. That's why they had a Mabul. They have a responsibility to be moral. They're not allowed to have what they call equal rights either. Equal rights they could have for help to be able to live the right way, because the government should pay for that. But not to say it's okay to live in sin. That doesn't. They're not allowed to say that. They have a chiyuv, sheva mitzvot, and they have a Gan Eden for that. Also, but we have Taryag mitzvot. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us Tzelem Elokim, And what happened is that we have failings. But we have to believe, like Rav Shiur said, that we can do tshuva. There's no such thing as, but I'm so much in the habit, I'm an addict, I keep going back to it. We can change. I once had that experience. I heard it from an English principal, one of the yeshivot where I taught. So I had a big sign on the wall from all the gedolim of that era who were alive then. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, Rav the Steipler Gaon, the father of Hachaim Kanievsky, Shlita, the Rav Moshe Feinstein was alive then, Zatzal, all these gedolim, Rav Yeshurun, my great Rosh Yeshiva, and they all signed and they wrote a long letter about the dangers of television. That was the worst thing you could have in those days in your house. Today is much worse things that come into the house. That was the worst thing. There was no cable in those days. What's coming through that? Rahman al-Islam. But so I had a sign on the wall, and many Bachrim, the parents, my PTA told me that Baruch Hashem, they're proud of their children. They're in the house with the television, but they don't come into the den. And they were proud of their children, because they held that it is right. Just they didn't want to give it, they felt they were addicted. So inauguration was a Friday that year. President, I think it was Reagan's inauguration, was January 20th on a Friday. So the English teacher announced she's bringing in a television to the classroom for the children to watch the inauguration. So you know how children are. They like conflict. It's exciting to see if there's an argument. You know, that's normal. So the children said to me, Rebbe, the English teacher said tomorrow she's bringing in a television to show us the inauguration. What do you think of that? So I believe very strongly that if you work for a place, you defend that place. You don't speak against the place you work for. You have to, that's the truth. You have to be loyal if you work someplace. So I said, I can understand why. There's a Gemara. It says, L'olam, always, a person should run to the Malchim Mizrachu Ma'arav, to the kings of the Gentiles, to watch their honor, so that when Mashiach will come, we'll see what real honor is. But if we never see the honor of the Umot Olam Melachim, how will we understand how great is the honor of Melech HaMashiach? So she wants you to see the honor of the president, the 21-gun salute, hail to the chief, all the things that go on by inauguration. I understand it. How do I feel that in my Beit HaMidrash, because we learn Torah in this classroom, that kind of a machine is coming in? I'm not so comfortable, but I understand it. I understand why we would do it, why you should see it. And then I went on with the class, with the day. Come the next morning, Friday morning, I come to class, the whole Hanhala, the Limudei Kodesh and the Limudei Chol are at my door. What did you tell the boys yesterday? What did you tell them? Why? Parents are calling up. They want their children sent home before the Limudei Chol. Of course, teacher bringing in a television. You're against it. I said, I'm against it. I didn't say. I did say I'm not so comfortable in my Beit Midrash to bring in that machine, because there's so many other things that come with that machine. But I did not speak a word against it. I told them what I said. So one of the English principals, there were a few principals, one said to me, a young man, why are you so against it? I said, if you come into my classroom, I'll show you the sign. Now the children were already in the room, ready for Tfilat HaShachar by this time. And they were very excited. This is what they wanted, you know. This is the excitement they tried to create. And they're getting it. So I brought in this English principal, and they were very quiet, because this is what they, you know. And he read the whole sign. And he turned around and said to the boys, he says, boys, I want to tell you something. Everything it says on this sign is absolutely true. Because I was raised with that machine, and I am an addict, and I probably will never stop. But I do see all these things all the time. Whatever the Rabbanim wrote is true. And I understand what your Rebbe is saying. And he left the room, and we davened. He came back at the end of Tfilah, and he announced, I spoke to the teacher, she's going to bring a radio. And you'll hear the inauguration. You won't see the inauguration. But what did he say? I am an addict, I probably will never stop. I want you to know I am still very friendly with that man. Not only he stopped, he took it out of his home. He has B'nai and B'not Torah as children, Baruch Hashem. So he could change, because the Torah is like that honey. There's no such thing. We are never, never, never addicts, not us. Because the Torah can change the person. It's just not part of our life. We can feel that way because the world around us talks about addictions. But a ben Yisrael, a ben Torah, there's another halakha, similar to what Rav Shiur mentioned, Shlita, about meat falling into honey. And Rabbeinu Yonah writes that the meat dissolves, it becomes part of the honey. It's not considered meat if it goes into milk anymore. That will not be considered meat, because honey dissolves the food that's in it. Like it dissolves the bee, it dissolves the meat. It's no more meat, it's a piece of the honey. It has become honey, that's the pshat. It's not a bug that's asur, it's honey. It's not meat, it's honey. And that's the Koach HaTorah. Says the Navi to us in one of the 7 Haftorot of Nechama after Tisha B'Av. Vatomer Tzion. Tzion said, we have sinned so badly. We caused the Churban. Azavani Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has left me. V'adonai shechechani. My master HaKadosh Baruch Hu has forgotten me. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu responds through the Navi. Hatishkach isha ulah. Can a mother forget her child? Can I forget you because you sinned? No matter what you did, you brought a Churban. We brought the Churban. That's what really happened. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent us warnings and warnings and warnings and warnings, and we didn't want to hear them, so we buried Yirmiyahu up to his neck in the sand. We put him in prison. We tried to hide him. He shouldn't tell us Musar, because we didn't want to hear what's right. We were enjoying the sin, Rahman al-Itzlan. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, what come on? Hatishkach isha ulah. Can a woman forget her child? Merachem ben bitna. Can the compassionate mother forget the child of her womb? Gam eila tishakachna. Sometimes, yes, a mother might forget her child. Maybe human beings, maybe. V'anochi, but me, lo eshkachi. I will never forget you, Klal Yisrael, never. The sin is just dirt. With soap we wash it off, and you're the same child. It's just, I will never forget you. It will never happen. So the Gemara in Brachot translates this, that our conversation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu was that how will you ever forget the Egel HaZahav that we made right after the Kabbalat HaTorah? We hurt you so much. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Gam Eila Tishkachna. Yes, I can forget Eila Elohecha Yisrael. That was said by the Egel. I could. So we asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Gemara says, but if you can forget the Egel, maybe you're going to forget us too. Maybe you're going to forget our relationship. If you could forget something as powerful as the Egel HaZahav. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, V'anochi lo eshkachech. V'anochi Hashem Elokecha. There's 2 parts to that. Anochi Hashem is for the world. Elokecha. Doesn't say Elokechim. Globally, I am Klal Yisrael's God. Elokecha, every one of you, I took you out of Mitzrayim. Me, you, every one of us. We were neshama. Hashem took us individually, loves us individually, watches us individually. There's Anochi Hashem for everybody. Then Elokecha, there's a personal relationship. I will never forget Anochi lo eshkochech, says the Maharal Miprag. What does that mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how are we a Jew? What does it mean, a Jew? A breath of Hashem, neshama. Neshama is neshima. HaKadosh Baruch Hu breathes himself into us. Every Jewish child from Avraham and Sarah, a boy and a girl, every ger, every gioret, they are a ben Avraham, a ben Sarah, bat Avraham, bat Sarah. So they immediately, when they become a Jew, they have a breath of Hashem. Neshama is neshima. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in us. He is one with us. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, a mother and a baby are 2 entities. Maybe gam eila tishkachna. Maybe a mother could forget her baby sometime if there's such a big rift between them. Maybe she could put the child out of her mind. But anochi, but I'm part of you. Can a person forget themselves? Can a person forget themselves? We are one. It's impossible to forget ourselves. How much are we one? So I'll just read a lashon from Rav Chaim Volozhiner in Nefesh HaChaim. How much are we one? So we have a pasuk in Shir HaShiurim, Perek Hey. It says, Kol dodi dofek. I hear HaKadosh Baruch Hu, my beloved, He's knocking on my door. He's giving me opportunities to serve Him. I mean, I can't get over how many people came here tonight. It's beautiful. It's such a Kiddush Hashem for Klal Yisrael. It's just a chut for Klal Yisrael. The Hashem gave us an opportunity and you opened the door. But the pasuk says, no, many Jews don't want to open the door. Open up for me, please, Hashem says. Achoti, my sister. Why my sister? We're husband and wife in Shir HaShirim. But a husband and wife could divorce. Sister can't divorce forever and ever and ever. It's blood relative. So we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mi tencha ka'achli in Shir HaShirim. Could you be my brother, Hashem? If you're my husband, then we could have a divorce. I want you to be my brother. So Kadosh Baruch Hu answers us, Achoti. I'm marrying you, but a relationship like a sister that we can never separate. Rayati, my spouse. Yonati, my dove. A dove is a bird that's loyal to its mate, unlike other birds. Tamati, my twin. What kind of a twin? Says Rav Chaim Volozhin. He says that the Midrash explains a Siamese twin, an attached twin. How do I know? Mahatomim halalu. These twins, im choshash echad berosho. If one twin gets a headache, chaveiro margish, the other twin feels the headache. Ken amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, imo onochi b'tzara. If you ever have an ache or a pain, I am suffering with you. I'm attached to you. I'm in you. Neshima, I breathed myself kaviyachol into you, and I'm with you. And if you suffer, I suffer. But it's worse than that. It's just that if we suffer, Hashem suffers. It's more. Shebe'et shehadam oseh aveira, says Rav Chaim Volozhin. When we do a sin, it's like somebody who gets shikur, who gets drunk. It says in the Gemara, Ein adam chotei, a person does not sin. He's attached to Hashem. Ela im kein nichnas bo ruach shtut, unless he's temporarily a spirit of idiocy went into him. Because how would he do that? He has Hashem in him and he'll sin. Imagine Hashem gives us parnassah. We take the parnassah and we go to a place without tzniut. Hashem gave us a matana, and we go and romp around in some place that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was so upset. He's with us and He's inside us. The pain of Hashem by the Aveira, says Rav Chaim Volozhin, who gorim l'malat tzar gadol v'atzum le'en orech, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in us. But the person doesn't feel it, because while he's sinning, he's numb. He's like a shikur. The shikur doesn't feel he's drunk, but his wife and his children are so embarrassed. They're embarrassed. He's not embarrassed. He's running around. He's throwing up. He's making noise because he is numb. He's drunk. But the family is very, very hurt. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Anochi Mamash. He's part of us. That's what it is, and that's what Shavuot is about. That's what we're reminding ourselves how close we are to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How close HaKadosh Baruch Hu is to us. We stand there again. The Torah is written, Vayedaber all over Vayikra, is Vav HaHipuch. Yedaber is future tense, will speak. Vayedaber, spoke. Yikra, future tense, will call. Vayikra, and he called. In this reading that we read 3 times a year, Shavuot in the morning, Vayet Chanan, it's repeated again. And then Parashat Yitro, which is the Kriya of Shavuot, it says Moshe Yidaber. Moshe will speak, not Vayidaber. Moshe once upon a time spoke. He will speak in every generation, in every year, 3 times a year in the Bet HaKnesset. And if women can or can't come, but if they're mechaven to be part of the community, where the women have a different role, they can't always come to Bet Knesset. But they also are part of Kabbalat Torah. And when the Baal Koreh reads those words, it's Moshe Yidaber. Moshe Rabbeinu will speak. V'yolekim ya'anenu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will respond. Not Vaya'an Hashem. Hashem responded. Ya'anenu. Every door we hear Kabbalat Torah again. Did you notice that on Pesach we have a chefetz, matzot, dalet kosot. There's a chefetz for the mitzvah of the Yom Tov, Sukkot, Arba Minim, a sukkah, Chanukah, a menorah, Purim, Megillah, Mishloach Manot, Matanot Avyonim. What's the chefetz of Shavuot? The chefetz, where's the chefetz? Torah we have all the time. What is the chefetz? Shavuot is not about what we do, it's about who we are. We are a twin, Kaviyachol, a Siamese twin with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we carry him with us. And it's shalom. That's what it brings us. If we are zoche. Bilam knew what he's talking about. He said 2 things that we understand. Hashem yivarechet amov hashalom. Look around. See who are the most calm, satisfied people who feel good about their life. People who live with the Torah. They feel good about life. They have inner peace. If they have inner peace, they could love everybody. The only time we don't love someone is if we're not at peace with ourselves. A person that's at peace with themselves finds a ma'alah in. That was Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. He loved everybody, so everybody loves him. So everybody comes to his kever, from the most far away Chiloni to the biggest Machmir Charedi, dancing together and singing it together. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was so comfortable that he loved every Yid. Hashem yivarechet amov hashalom. And what else did Bilam say that we say every day in Tefillah? Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov. How beautiful are your homes, Yaakov. An oasis of Kedusha. There's a storm outside of Pritzut, of Apikursut, of Ridifot HaGashmiot. A storm, a blizzard, to make us cold from the Torah. But you come into the warm home of a Ben and Bat Yisrael. Close that door. Mechaya, the street doesn't come in there. It's a Makom Torah, it's a Har Sinai every day, 365 days a year. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov. We don't bring in the Akrav, we don't bring in the Nachash, like Rav Shua said. We don't bring in the Tumah. We leave it out in the street, and the house is mamash, an oasis of the water, of the mikvah Hashem, of the opposite of Mabul, of the water that builds. So we should be Zocheh Be'ezrat Hashem Yisbarach. It's so beautiful that so many Yidden, men and women, who after a whole day, you're probably so tired. Mamash, I don't know how you're staying awake. It's a zechut. You have a big zechut for yourselves and for Klal Yisrael. Rabbi Yisrael Salanta said, when a person puts on tefillin and salant, we are so attached to each other. Somebody in Paris feels like doing tshuva. Really. Rabbi Yisrael Belsky said, 2 weeks ago at my yeshiva dinner, Torvadat dinner, he said there are certainly 35 million Jews in America. The census says 5.5 million. But he said there were 6 million before World War II in America. Nobody left America from World War II till today. Very few Jews left. And for every Jew who left, many came from other countries. So we should have 6 times as many Jews now as we had then. But they don't know that they're Jewish. They don't sign up in the census. So it says we only have 5.5 million. When we had in 1933, we had 6 million. He says that means that there are really over 35 million Jews here. But they don't know it. But if we live right, they're going to wake up, Bezat Hashem. They're going to wake up, Bezat Hashem. We're attached to each other. We have a kesher. We are a revim. So when there's a chut of such wonderful Yidden like yourselves, we came to be metahir ourselves before the Chag, to tovel the Torah before the Chag. We came to be tovel, and we should go to the Chag not as tovel v'sheretz biyado. We should commit ourselves to get rid of any shiratzim that we might have in our hand, so that we should be able to be tovel in the mikvah of Hashem and mamish be tahor. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bench each one of us who are here and all of Klal Yisrael who's not here, bashalom, with the ability to live a life of inner peace, of being self-satisfied and loving each other, being mitpalel for those who don't love us. They should do tshuva, machnia zedim. We don't say shover zedim, shover oyevim, but machnia zedim. To be machnia. If we live in peace, if we could live the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bench the whole world with shalom, not only amo b'shalom, but he'll bench the whole world with shalom. B'ezrat Hashem, and our zechut will be zocher to the bracha that the Zohar writes, b'shvuot yifkun migaluta. Shvuot is a special time of sugal for that shofar to blow. Hopefully we'll be zocher to find ourselves hearing the words of Moshe ben Moshe Yedaber, B'Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh Ben Hera V'Yameinu. Amen.